G'day all, RPG Rider here. I watched WSS World Super Sport last night. Sorry guys, I'm still sick. It's stress and cold. And it didn't fail to entertain, I'll tell you that much. It didn't fail to entertain. Even my wife was interested. It was phenomenal. You're on the edge of your seat. It's 40 minutes of on the edge of your seat racing like no other, not like any other race, you know. You should really take a look at it if you haven't. World Super Sport 2016. I don't watch them as they come on. Because they're hard to get, right? Sport bikes are big in Europe, not so big in North America, you know. And sport bike racing is big in Europe, not so much in America. So I wait. Well, they're hard to find anyway, but I'll wait. And I do this with anything I watch, like series or whatever on TV. You know, I'll wait until 6 or 7 episodes have gone by, and then I'll watch them in, you know, fairly quick succession, right? So I enjoy this stuff. None of this, you know, wait another week to see the next one type business, right? Although it depends on how busy I am. So anyway, that was phenomenal. I really enjoyed that. So I was thinking about topics for today, and actually places I need to be right now. I don't want to be, but I'm just taking a short run on the way to the place I don't want to be. And thinking about character hit points, you know, are they necessary? Should there be hit points? You know, should we get rid of hit points? Or come up with some alternative? And here's what I'm talking about. Let's say in a fantasy campaign, you've got, you know, your barbarian, whatever, reaches 12th level, and he has 100 and whatever hit points. You know, obviously unrealistic, right? If you take hit points to mean life, right, then it's completely unrealistic. So if your barbarian lies down on the sofa at an inn, and people stand around him in a circle with hatchets and start hacking at him, he could just take it and take it and take it, you know? Or, yeah, if someone comes up with an axe and threatens to kill him with the axe, he could take the axe and smash himself in the head multiple times for fun, right? Obviously not realistic. Now, if you take hit points as in its more abstract sense, which is what, you know, it's suggested to do, hit points means more like luck or skill, right? So you're hit, but because you're a higher level, you kind of turn with the blow and, you know, blah, blah, blah. You roll with the punch. So you're able to survive more. But it still gets ridiculous when you're in the hundreds of hit points. It does, in different games, right? I had one character who was GMing in a campaign, Rift's campaign. He was a troll warlock? Elemental fusionist? I can't remember anyway, but he was, it's been a while. He was having an interview with someone. The guy actually started a company in Rifts. It was awesome. And at one point he picked up this high-powered whatever gun and stuck it to his head and pulled the trigger, you know, just to show the guy was serious, right? You know, and that's where hit points get a bit ridiculous, right? So if you take it as meaning abstract, it's still kind of weird, right? So now, this isn't going to be a Cortex discussion, but I'm going to use that for an example because that's the system I like so much, right? I like using it as an example. So, there you go. So I'll use it for an example, right? We have a saying at our Cortex Classic virtual table. And that saying is, no matter how powerful you become, in Cortex, a shotgun to the head is still a shotgun to the head, right? And that's very much true, because in Cortex you get life points, but they only go up so far. 12 is what you'd expect to get. And in Cortex, the damage system works a bit different, so how well you hit someone adds to your damage as well, beyond the weapons damage. So if someone puts a shotgun to your head, or even shoots you with a shotgun, and you've been gaming for years with the character, it's still quite possible to die, right? So, for more realism, dare I say it, for a fantasy game, here's my question. Would it be worthwhile to axe the hit points, and let's say, so you don't have the unrealistic side effect of having high hit points / I'm a higher level so I know how to roll a punch thing. You don't have the ridiculous stuff, but you still have the effect. So in other words, if you're in a fantasy campaign, why not keep the hit points low, right? Like first level-y hit points. But instead, as the character progresses, so basically if they lie on a couch at the inn and someone threatens them with a hatchet right to the head standing right over them, it's still a threat. But you add something instead to the unrealistic hit points. So low hit points or life points or whatever you want to call them. But you add something else, maybe luck points. Maybe the character gets a pool of luck points as they increase in level, so that they can spend those to offset stuff, right? Anyway, it's just a thought. I'm not sure I would actually do it, but just amusing. Because in Cortex, that's what they have, right? They have your life points are still crap. No matter how powerful you get, you still beware the shotgun, and Lord forbid if someone comes at you with a, like a high-powered rifle or something like that, right? You're in a lot of trouble, right? No matter what you are. And what they do is they've got something called plot points, and the plot points can be spent to make minor changes to the story, or they can be spent to get additional dice added to your rolls. So as an example, and like I say, this is not a Cortex love ballad here again. I'm just saying that if you I'll just give it as an example. So, for example, in the shotgun example, someone comes at you with a shotgun in Cortex, and what you do is you spend some plot points for your rolls, for your dodge roll, or something like that, right? In Cortex, you have a defense based on your agility roll, but you can also, instead, you can throw yourself to the floor. You can dodge, which is your whole action, though. That's the problem, right? Or one of multiple actions, I won't get into it here, but... So, in Cortex, if a plot point gives you an extra die. So if you spend a plot point, one plot point would equal a D2, 2 plot points, a D4, extra D4 to your roll. That sort of stuff. So it's just a thought, because hit points are quite unrealistic, and I'm just thinking, with my level conversation, which in retrospect I watched it afterwards, and I missed the points I was making, and it didn't make some sense. Like, you tailor your encounters through leveled character. Well, I know you tailor encounters to everything. I was trying to draw a connection between something else, but I was so tired after multiple failed vlogs. Anyway, yeah, so just an idea of hit points, Does anyone do anything different to change it up, or just use a different system? I played Warhammer Fantasy quite a few times. For the life of me, I can't recall what the system was, but I don't think it was like, hundreds of hit points, right? Not from what I can, recall. I don't know. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Anything else I can talk about? Talk about this for a second. Fantasy movies. There's definitely a shortage of fantasy movies. Ones that are straight fantasy. Like lots of sci-fi and that stuff that you can argue is sci-fi, but for fantasy, there's not a lot out there. I was always, as a kid, looking through video stores, looking for, Beastmaster or, whatever I could find for fantasy aside from Conan the Barbarian, which I personally believe is one of the best films ever made. Dino De Laurentiis, Max von Sydow, James Earl Jones. I mean, it's just Arnold Schwarzenegger, obviously. It was just so phenomenal as a film. So you had that, which was awesome, and then you had a lot of, low budget, not their fault, they just didn't have a budget, attempts at fantasy films, right? There were others, like Willow was extremely good. There were others, but there's not a lot in the fantasy genre. Luckily now you have Lord of the Rings. Things are a bit different. Lord of the Rings, the Three Hobbits, that sort of stuff. So things are a little bit different, right?